back again. It's nice and early. I have to work on a Saturday morning of all things. Woohoo. Hopefully this will be kind of brief. I've recently gotten involved with arguing with someone I know who's currently living abroad in Australia. And they've come to they're about 10 years younger than I am. And I'm just going to say this. I'm going to preface this by saying, I really wish I was a tenth as smart as I thought I was when I was 10 years ago. But I'm not. And the longer I live, the more I realize I'm not that smart. And people watching this probably know how I feel. But this particular person, every time they try something different, they think they know everything there is to know. And they're the type of person that will tell you point blank, if you've never done exactly what they've done, you have no right to say anything. Right now, they think that because they've spent some time in Australia, they know more about gun laws and violent crimes and everything else. And they're saying, oh, we need to get rid of all guns because, I just don't feel safe around guns. And it's like, you grew up around guns, you were bragging right before you left about getting your concealed permit and getting a gun. But because you've gone somewhere and tried something different, you now know everything there is to know about the subject. More than people, there's people twice her age trying to set her straight on the fact that things don't work. But she's saying how there's not been any shootings whatsoever, no mass shootings whatsoever since they got rid of guns. Get rid of guns, there's no mass shootings. So I found an article from earlier this year in Australia involving a mass shooting. And in the subject line, or the headline of the article, it said, worst mass shooting since 1996. Well, she took that and said, see, look, no mass shootings. And it's like, except it's in the article. Did you actually look at the article? It highlights a mass shooting. Oh, to be young and think you know what you think you know. The fact of the matter is, I've talked to people who were in Australia when the gun buybacks went back, and they said violent crime skyrocketed. And if you look at the data, that was in fact the case. And across the board, if you look at Australia's violent crime rate, it's not much better than the United States. In some cases, it's actually worse. The difference is, in America, the availability of guns cause things to escalate. And mainly that's not because of everyday law-abiding citizens. The vast majority of gun crimes in America are committed by criminals. If you take out things such as gang-related shootings, America is actually pretty safe. The problem is, we have a bunch of social and economic factors that contribute to higher crime rates in certain areas, especially places such as Chicago, New York City, and the like. And this has been dispelled and proven multiple times over. And that if you were to take these larger cities where these things happen, Chicago, where multiple people get killed by guns every single day, we're actually pretty well off. And this has been dispelled many times, but nothing ever comes of it. And it's been proven times over that the people who want to do evil will find a way. Whether it be like the guy that was mailing out bombs here a few weeks ago, or the Rossin attacks before that. Right now, England has their violent crime rates are skyrocketing. things such as knife attacks. That's why they're trying to limit the size of knives you can have. And in a lot of cases, a lot of knives, even my pocket knife that I carry every day, is banned. It's getting harder to find certain cleaners and drain clog removers because the acids in it are used in acid attacks. And you can point this out, but no guns, no shootings, except that's been dispelled too by articles in Australia. The fact of the matter is, and I know I've said this before and I'll keep saying this, people who want to do evil will find ways to do it. Whether it's by a gun, by a knife, by bombs, by driving trucks into crowds, they will find a way. The fact of the matter is, I would rather take my chance with a gun, or even being able to conceal, to protect myself against a gun or a knife, than I would some of the alternatives. You know, there are things worse than dying, I'm not going to lie. And don't get me wrong, getting shot, I'm sure, is quite painful. I've never actually been shot. I've been on the business end of a loaded gun 3 separate occasions. There are things worse than, but I'm pretty sure there's things worse than being shot. No matter how much it may hurt when it happens, or hurt your family when you die, I would take my chances with that than I would an acid attack where it like melts your face off and you're left blind. Or at the very least, vision impaired. To me, that would be worse than dying, because that's a lifetime of pain and a lifetime of suffering. And if you're able to carry, if someone comes at you with a knife, and where I work, I have seen there's a high homeless population. I have literally seen homeless people trying to stab each other in the middle of the street, standing in the middle of the street in broad daylight. Where I work, I'm not allowed to carry, and where I'm parking, I'm not allowed to even keep a gun in the car anymore. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you should be able to be prepared to defend yourself. And you can defend yourself better against a gun or even a knife if you're carrying a gun of your own. And you can definitely defend yourself better against a gun or a knife than you can poisons, biological agents such as ricin, or bombs, or people driving big trucks through crowds. And that's just a fact. I'd rather take my chances with a gun than, acid that will eat your face off. And I know that's personal preference, and I'm going to reveal something I don't talk about. Growing up, my parents went through a nasty, horrible divorce. It was so awful. My mom had what happened was we were basically left bankrupt, and the man I referred to as a sperm donor, was making all kinds of threats. And she went to the police and said, well, if you had proof, we could keep it on record. Now, we wouldn't be able to do anything until he actually tried something. So, I remember coming in one day, one of her friends had just gotten a digital answering machine and gave the old analog with the tape to my mom. And it came in handy because it could record stuff. And I remember coming in one day and it was flashing. And he was screaming, telling how he's going to kill us all, blow the house up and everything else. That, in fact, did happen. And I remember one time, you got a gas stove in the kitchen. And I remember one time it went out. It was on low and it went out. I guess a little cross breeze or something blew the flame out. And I remember freaking out because I smelled gas and thought, this was after hearing those voicemails. I remember smelling that gas and thinking, oh no, he's tempered with the gas lines and trying to blow us up. And I remember asking that and being assured, I was maybe in 6th grade, 7th grade, somewhere in there. And I remember being told, no, that's all it was. See, I had the realization that that could happen because I was told it. I remember hearing that being exclaimed that it would happen. So that sticks out in my mind. Knowing that if there's no way you can defend yourself about that, when it happens, there's nothing you can do about it. There's no way to defend against it. So you're just in paranoia. The purpose of this rant is twofold. One, like I said, this person has a tendency to say, if you've never had my exact experiences, you have no right to talk about this or whatever. That's something you should never really go around saying, because just because they don't have the exact same experiences in you does not mean they have that they lack personal knowledge or experience in a matter similar, or in some way give them a different perspective, some way of knowing something you don't know. The other thing is, like I've said in the video in the past, there are things worse than getting shot. Having lived through the paranoia of wondering if you're going to walk through the door one day and get blown up, that's worse than the idea of maybe getting shot. Having to walk like maybe half a mile now. I don't know exactly how far it is to the parking structure I'm having to park at now while construction is going on. But it's like twice as far, and it's like 2 or 3 blocks just from my old parking structure to where I work. But, being completely unarmed like that, it was bad before, but this is a whole lot worse. And I go through an area where there's a lot more homeless people, where, like I said, in the particular area I've worked, I've seen homeless people try to stab each other in broad daylight, and them standing in the middle of the street, literally. Not being in a position to defend myself. And I would get fired if they knew I carried a pocket knife. And it's not even a spring-loaded pocket knife. It's one of the old school pocket knives. I used to carry a Case XX. This is a hen and rooster equivalent to the Trapper, I think. 2-blade pocket knife. If I weren't driving, I'd show it. But yeah, that's just carrying that could get me fired. But the fact of the matter is, I wish I could carry a small pistol on me, because of what I've seen. It makes me feel like I'm just a sitting duck waiting to get jumped. And that, in fact, has happened. It's been a while since someone with whom I work has been attacked by homeless people, but it has happened. One person, they got their arm broken in an attack. And I would like to think I would be better able to defend myself. I would like to be able to defend myself, but I can't. So, yeah, maybe they have a certain set of experiences that teach them one thing, but my realization is this. Like I said, there's things much, much, much worse than getting shot or even getting stabbed. Been there, done that. I would like to think I would like to be in a position where I can defend myself, and criminals will find ways to get guns or whatever to do their evil deeds. I would like, and that's never going to change until we address the social and economic factors and even mental health issues that cause people to lash out violently and use violent force as a means to get their whatever it is they're wanting, it's going to keep happening. And I fear it's going to be getting worse instead of better because we refuse to address it. We try to focus on regulating inanimate objects rather than attacking the problem, identifying and attacking the problem. It's like Islamic terrorism. You're not going to fix it with guns and bombs. You're going to create more of it. And the fact of the matter is, there probably will never be peace in the Middle East just simply because they've been fighting for millennia. There's genocides going on in the Middle East as we speak, based off of an argument as to which, in the Muslim faith, they're at war with themselves because they're still fighting on who should have succeeded the Prophet Muhammad. The Sunni and the Shiite and all them, that's what that's all over. And that was what, 637 AD? I think, somewhere in there. I studied it once upon a time and knew when all this started. But yeah, they've been at it for over 1,000 years. They're not going to stop, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Basically, until they decide to set aside their differences, it ain't going to change. And if we go over there and try and solve it with bombs, all we're going to do is piss them off some more than we already have. But that's just something to think about. Is like I keep saying, there's no. Oh, I got a stop sign, a red light. Maybe I'll have a chance to pull my pocket knife out. That's what I carry. Best I can tell, in England, that would be banned. I'd be breaking the law by carrying that. And I could get fired for carrying that at work. But I figured that's something to defend myself. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another way. But when you are find yourself in a situation where there's a large portion of society that don't really care, and they have no issue using violence, as I have witnessed firsthand, you have to be prepared. And I am underprepared because of where I work and where I have to park. And there's nothing I can do about it. And that, to me, is scarier than the prospect of being shot. As a matter of fact, like many have pointed out, a lot of these mass shootings take place in situations where the victims were unarmed. They were just sitting ducks waiting for something like this to happen. And I know that's an over-dramatization of it, but it's a fairly accurate depiction of it because the people in there, they're law-abiding citizens. They were following the rules, the laws, the guidelines, and they were unable to defend themselves, and that's why they were, more than likely, why they were targeted, because they knew they would be easy targets to carry out their agenda. And you can't rely on the police, as we learned in the school shooting down in Florida here earlier this year, where the sheriff's deputies were outside the school, hunkered down, hiding. If you want to know the truth, I know for a fact I can't rely on my local police, because the burglar alarm went off one time, and they had me go through the house with them and stood behind me, using me as a human shield with their hand on their gun, going through the entire house. You can't rely on the police. It would be nice if you could. Heck, my own brother is in law enforcement. I don't know if I could rely on him in a situation like that, just because that's the way they're trained. So yes, I want to be in a position where I can defend myself at all times. that's wrong. I don't know. But of all the evils, if I had to choose one, I'd rather have guns where I'm able to carry and run the risk of someone bad being able to get their hands on one and still being able to defend myself, fight fire with fire, literally, than I would to be unarmed and have to run the risk of the bad guy being able to get their hands on a gun, which is a possibility coming through Mexico, or even being attacked with a knife. Been there, done that. You can't see the scar. It's not translating through video, but I actually almost had a portion of my thumb cut off, basically filleted, blocking a knife attack. Having been through this, that has caused me to want to take my chances with being able to fight fire with fire in a gun situation, or being able to pull out a gun and say, hey, drop it and walk away or hit the ground, whatever. Yeah, maybe I haven't lived in a huge city like Miami, and maybe I haven't been to a place like Australia, but I've had first-hand experience with violent crimes, violent attacks. Like I said, stood on the business end of a loaded gun 3 times, knife attack once, had someone cut the brake lines on my vehicle once. Been there, done that. I'd like to think I could be in a situation where I can defend myself instead of being a sitting duck. That's, and I'm surprised this person hasn't told me to shut up on this particular topic, just because they have done that in the past, told me, blatantly said, if you don't have the same experiences I have, you're not allowed to discuss the matter. Well, and that's horribly wrong, because I've dealt with violent crime. I've been the victim of violent crimes and threats of violence. I've been on the receiving end. I know what it's like, and you can't discredit that. And I know maybe that's got me kind of a sense of victim mentality, or a touch of the victim mentality mindset, but still, because of those experiences, I want to be able to defend myself. And I can't rely on the police. I can't rely on, even gun bans don't work. You still hear of shootings in countries where they've been banned. Even last year in France, mass shootings. It's going to happen no matter what. The best thing you can do is be prepared to defend yourself and try to address the social and economic factors that create these situations. And even, like I said, even mental health. Because I will be the first to admit the mental health, the treatment and stigmas associated with mental health in America are god-awful. Plain and simple. Anyway, this has gone on further, a lot longer than I thought it really should, and I've repeated myself a few times. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. I'm almost to work anyway. Let me know what you think, but that's my 2 cents based on personal experiences. Later.